Right, so hello and welcome back to another Reddit video. Today we're looking at more of the top posts of the week from r/EntitledParents. Entitled Mum thinks she has to be invited to everything, gets husband to scream at us. So Sandy is my uncle's girlfriend. No one in our family but my uncle likes Sandy. Why? Well, for starters, she's still married and living with her husband and daughter. Second, she's a huge narcissist and throws a tantrum every time she doesn't get her way. So about a month into my uncle and her dating, we were going to take family pictures and she's there with her daughter. We ask her for a few pics with just my grandma and her kids/grandkids, but that didn't go over well at all. Sandy starts screaming that she's dating my uncle, so that means she and her daughter are family too, and deserve to be in the pictures just as much as anyone else. Sandy has even stalked my grandma, who is only 4'9" and in her late 70s. Back in March, when the pandemic was starting, my grandma was still living alone, so she had to do her own errands. My grandma went to Costco one day and there Sandy was, casually running into my grandma. Sandy was thinking about getting a Costco membership, but she doesn't like the Costco that's 30 minutes closer to her. Then, a few weeks later, she shows up at the same pharmacy that my grandma goes to, because Sandy's pharmacy didn't have the medicine she needed, so they sent her to one that was 35 minutes from her. Sandy also showed up to my grandma's bank on exactly the day that my grandma decided to open saving accounts for her grandkids. Sandy asked my grandma what she was doing, and when my grandma told her, Sandy launched into a fit because what about my daughter? She's technically your grandkid too. My uncle and her had only been dating for about 3 or 4 months at this point. Just as my grandma was about to say something, the bank security came over and asked if my grandma was okay. They knew her from decades of banking there, as well as all of her kids and grandkids. So when my grandma said no, they immediately escorted Sandy out. Shortly after that, my grandma moved states to live with my aunt, and that so far has been the last stalking incident. On Thanksgiving, we all did a Zoom dinner instead of having a big gathering. About half an hour into the meal, my uncle's phone starts going crazy. She starts demanding to know why she wasn't invited and goes into full tantrum mode. So my uncle caves and sends her the link. As soon as she gets on, Sandy starts screaming, and her daughter, Amy, who's 12, is running around in the background screaming and crying that it's not fair. Sandy starts calling us all selfish bastards, and then her husband starts yelling at us that we can't do that to his wife. My grandma had had enough of Sandy and scoffed at her. See, this is why nobody here likes you. This is why we do everything without you. This is why I'm so glad that you and that rabid kid of yours aren't invited to my granddaughter's wedding. No big dramatic ending, we just all ended the call because everyone was super angry. We decided to do another one without my uncle this time, and that was fine. So the OP's uncle is dating a married woman, and her actual husband freaked out because she wasn't invited to her boyfriend's Zoom dinner. Even assuming they're separated but not divorced yet, there's a lot to unpack here. What a weird family. You're grounded for having depression. My mother is a terrible human being. She's always been abusive to me, and I want to have a decent relationship with her, but it's extremely difficult because of her behaviour. Growing up, I got bullied a lot for being a bit weird, a trait I now pride myself on. Long story short, this and a multitude of other factors ended up having me diagnosed with depression in high school. My mother's solution to fix this would be to punish me in a variety of ways, and one of the most common was with hard labour. We had a wood-burning stove and would stock up on wood to last the winter. If I wasn't smiling, she usually would force me to go to our basement to cut and pile wood. A lot of the time, I'd get sent to my room for not being happy, usually without meals. She commonly banned me from playing video games because I was acting depressed. One time, during a family trip to the zoo in the city my grandparents live in, they threatened to go home without visiting my grandparents unless I put on a smile. My grandparents were everything to me. They were easily the only ones who bothered to make me feel cared for, so this was one of the worst punishments imaginable. This happened constantly throughout my time living with her, amongst many other things. She would especially do this when she was in public, as she didn't want my poor mental health to tarnish her image in the community. Jesus, imagine making your own child feel like a burden for mental health issues they have absolutely no control over. This could easily be on r/insane parents for how ridiculous our response is to all of these things. Why must you, Karen? Why? It's 11 PM. Stop. So I've worked at McDonald's in Georgia for 5 months now. I'm trained to work any station except grill, which means 9 times out of 10 you could walk in and see me at the counter or in the drive-thru windows. The time was 10:56 and we close at 11 PM. I'm in the front window, which means I make the drinks and hand out the food. We're pre-closing with only 4 minutes left before we shut down. This is normal. Coffee machines are off, grills are being cleaned and shut down, dishes are being washed, and we got cleaning staff mopping the lobby. At 10:57, here comes Karen and 7 children, all of which look so freaking tired it isn't even funny. She comes to the register and starts yelling, "Excuse me, is there someone who's going to take my order?" My manager looks at me with this, "Go handle this" look. So I go to the front counter and I'm like, "Hi, sorry, but we're closing up right now." She looks me up and down and just scoffs. "Your website says you close at 11. It's not 11. You can take my order." I sigh because this is policy. If a customer comes in before closing, we're obligated to take their order. So I log into the system and start taking our order. 15 double cheeseburgers, 15 large fries, 15 sweet teas, and 3 large coffees. I was like, "Ma'am, there is no way the staff can do all that. Our grills are shut off for the night and there are only 4 10-1 patties in our heat box. Our coffee machines are off and the pots are being washed, and we have enough sweet tea to fill 3 large cups." At this point, she's red in the face. "You'll turn it all back on or I will have you fired. This is discrimination. You cannot do this to a white woman in the South. My husband's an army soldier. You should have more respect for me." "Ma'am," I said, "I'm not being discriminatory. It's almost 11 and our staff is closing up. As for you feeling that this should be stopped and restarted just because we're in the South and you're white is just wrong." By now, my manager is standing behind me on the phone with corporate. "Ma'am, I'm the shift manager for tonight. What's the problem?" "This racist lesbian bitch is refusing my order because I'm a white woman married to an army soldier. I demand our order be completely free for the insulting behaviour of this dumb cunt. My children are scared for life because of her." Well, my blood was boiling. Not only did she call me racist, but she assumed my sexuality because my hair is short. First off, I'm white as well. My hair is styled in an undercut with slight bangs, and it's a blue-green colour. Second off, when did I say I refused the order because of her race or because of her husband's occupation? Anyway, my manager is just staring at her and says, "Ma'am, I'm on the phone with corporate and I've been informed to tell you that unless you leave the premises now, I'm well within my rights to call the police. You are harassing my employee after our close time and using rather choice words in our family-friendly lobby." In the long and short, that's what caused me a free day off with pay, because I didn't get to leave McDonald's till 2 AM on a school night because we had to call the police. I don't like Southern Karens. Oh my goodness, 15 double cheeseburgers and fries for her and 7 kids at 11 PM. This is peak American stereotype at play. What an absolute nutcase. Thank God the worker had a good boss as well. Mum won't take me to my electroconvulsive therapy because it's inconvenient. So I'm fresh out of a 2-week stay in an inpatient psychiatric ward for a suicide attempt. It was not my first episode. I have treatment-resistant chronic major depression, and I have since I was 13. I'm 21 now. Electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, is also known as electroshock or shock therapy, and it's nothing like what you see in movies or TV. It's done under anesthesia and muscle relaxants. Patients are not conscious. However, because it's a bit of an intense treatment, it's used as a bit of a last resort when other interventions, such as therapy and medication, don't work. It also takes place very early in the morning, between 6 and 8 AM. So I've been suffering for years and survived 2 other attempts. Part of the reason for my depression is childhood trauma, brought on by, you guessed it, my entitled mother. She has never ever taken it seriously. She has mocked me and never supported me. She never helps with rides to appointments or anything like that. I thought maybe this time would be different. I cannot drive because of the anesthesia and I need a ride to and from the hospital. I thought maybe since it was a real medical procedure, in her eyes, that she would be more willing to help. But no. I'm not waking up at 5 AM to take you to the hospital. I don't need to go to work till 9, and there's no need for me to get up that early. It's inconvenient. Geez, it's not like I was asking to go to the circus. And how inconvenient do you think it is for me that I'm so depressed that I need to get my brain shocked? Luckily, I have friends who are taking time out of their lives to help me with this, but Jesus Christ, I hope my mum doesn't need rides to her appointments when she's elderly, and I'm the one who will suddenly be inconvenienced. It's sad, but there are actually so many kids in this subreddit that would be so much better off if they just left their parents for good the second they turned 18. I wish there was a subreddit for follow-up stories where everything worked out for these kids. I feel like I need some happy endings after reading all of these. Anyway, that is unfortunately all we have time for today. If you enjoyed this video and you want to make sure you catch the next one, make sure you're subscribed down below so you don't miss out. Thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye for now.